This is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar here at the Exit Inn in Nashville, Tennessee. God is an Astronaut, phenomenal instrumental band, at least in my opinion, but who am I? I'm here with Torsten.
Nice
Torsten,
to meet you.
how you doing?
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too, sir. And you're going to tell us about your setup here. You have a rather usual setup for some of our rig rundowns with Axe effects, but you're going to show us actually through the computer so we can actually visualize some of the parameters you're using.
Yes.
Before we dive into that pool, let's talk about your guitar you're using.
Yeah, this is a 1968 ES-345. Basically, if I take it out there, it's got a stereo to mono cable with a capacitor in it. You got the varitone switch on these, so you can change your tones radically.
Do you do that a lot?
I do it on a couple of the tracks if I want to get a slightly weaker distortion sound and that kind of stuff. Here I've got this changes it to a single coil for this pickup, which is a Curtis Novak pickup. The original 345 pickup was very boomy. I didn't really like it, so he made a 4-conductor cable, one here and one that's not too boomy, so it sounds kind of nice.
Is it a lot less? When I hear like a neck pickup on a guitar like this, it's sometimes almost woolly, or it almost sounds like it's covered with something.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like that. It sounds, you know.
Yeah.
And then you can, if you want that woolliness, you can come back a little bit that way. So it has that kind of a thinner sound. I suppose it's kind of closer to the Fender Stratocaster worlds a little bit, but it's still obviously very, very different.
Did you gravitate towards that pickup? Obviously the versatility of it, but also I know that you used to play Strats and you dabbled with Les Pauls too.
Yeah, I mean, the Fender Strats were usually better for the clean sounds, and the Les Paul very better for the distortion. This one I think is better in both. It does both better for me, especially with the modifications made. The only one that I have at home in the studio that's probably sounds slightly better is the National Glenwood 1962. It's the only one that I think that has a slightly better sound again than on the clean only, but not on the distortions. Obviously, distortion is the original pickup, and I really like it. It just sounds weaker in a nice way than a lot of the pickups that you would get today. A lot of the pickups I find in the latest 335s, they're just so ugly. Even you hit it, it's just completely aggressive. And
like too much output?
Way too much output. So this is a very low output. I mean, the only thing that might have less would be a Gretsch or something like that. But to me, it sounds really nice. Yeah, so that would be pretty much the guitar. Using Ernie ball, the heavy 10s. I think we're using the red packet.
What about the pick here?
These are Herden pick plectrums from Germany. I like them because you get the different gauges on it. You get 3, the 2 and 1s. That's your really soft one there if you want to go fast. And 3 was what I'd use if I was doing kind of picking on arpeggios, and 2 for the distortions if I'm hitting it pretty hard. And it's very easy because you can pinpoint the strings very quickly with it as well. So yeah, I kind of would be mortified if they stopped making it. So
please don't do that.
So don't do that. Yeah. Apart from that, we have different tunings every single song, at least for me anyway. A lot of our stuff is kind of, I mean, this one, the first track that we play is Pig Powder, and it's C, G, C, D sharp, G, D, so it really goes down pretty low. You gotta be careful not to hit it too hard, otherwise it's gonna start going out of tune. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of, and you get your different sounds, or I can change it from here, I think. Yeah. So you go through the Axe effects here. I think it's this way, is it? Yeah. So you get your slightly different sound. And then your next setting will be for this particular song will be. Get the different sounds, and then we have on this one, the next part will be.
And are you keying those? Obviously, you're doing it on the computer, so you can show us, but you can key that from the
yeah, that's all key from there.
I didn't know if you guys did it like within time.
Yeah, no, obviously it would be. So this has a kind of a. So it's got a lot of echo. distortion pedal down. That's it's sustain basically, the drone up the track, and Jamie maybe play keyboards or different drones over it. So yeah, that would be pretty much. I'll come back here for a sec. Sorry.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, so I could just kind of walk you through the effects that's in here.
The one thing I was going to ask is I know you used to run some full tone pedals in conjunction with the Axe effects, and there looks like on the floor here you got rid of those.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was when you're doing the fly-in shows, you can't take all those pedals with you without causing major problems. So I spent about 6-7 months trying to replicate those pedals. So what I originally done, I had my full tone pedal there, and I would hit it and I'd record it, and then I would try to get in here with some of the the inbuilt sounds and see if I could replicate them a bit. And I did a pretty good job with a couple of them, which we can walk through in a couple of minutes. Definitely the hardest one was the Big Muff and the Rocket pedal, which are both kind of weird fuzz pedals.
Yeah.
But I did get it. It just took a long time. Obviously, this is just a clean patch here. I mean, you've got a bit of compressor. I think the amp that we're using on this particular one, let me just see what it is. It's a Brit JM45. Bit of pre-EQ on it, and then you've got a vibrato amplifier mix, which makes its way through a lot of different EQs, and then a different branch of chorus pitch, which creates that kind of if I could kind of, I'll just cut off the other effect here. You can just hear the effect on its own. So that's kind of separate, so I'll just put that back. Yeah, and together, you get that. And then obviously there's a reverb here, which I think is the Rich Hall, and a multi-delay up here as well, just to kind of get which is a plexi detune kind of thing. So. The basic verse line to that one.
Torsten, you're doing me a big favor. You're going to go through the Echoes, because that's one of my favorite songs that you
Cool,
guys
yeah.
have done. So you switched it up in the computer. What is the tuning that you're in? And I saw that you put the cable on.
It's just a drop D with the capo.
Okay.
Just on it. That's just the way it was written.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how that works.
And so what do we got here on the signal chain?
Basically, okay, what we've got, an effects loop has been inputted here with the Rainbow machine, which kind of warbles the sound, or this particular setting. I mean, it does a lot of different things.
Yeah.
It kind of it sounds like you're kind of bending the string really fast, so that's a big important part to the sound. I try to replicate it. It just can't be done. It just, you could try with a chorus pedal, but it's not the same. It's got two different drives in here. I'll just see if I can get to it here. This first one is a bit crusher through really heavy compression, I believe. Yeah, infinite compression, so it sustains the lead. And then this one's probably just a big muff pipe fuzz kind of thing. So, and then it goes through. There's a ring mod in there as well, which should be attached. 1 second. I'll make sure that's hasn't set itself correctly. Hold on.
We're editing on the fly here.
We're editing on the fly here. Interesting. It's not actually inputted the way it's supposed to be.
Don't ask me for
Let's
help.
fix that. So the ring mod is back here. So it's got a lot of sustain. There's probably a pitch shifter on it there as well. 2 pitch shifters. One's a chorus. Yeah, it's octave up, mixed in, not too much. And then we've got a detune left and right stereo to kind of give it that extra bit of chorusy sound.
And is this still going through with the JTM model amp?
No, I think it's a different model actually. This one is I have a feeling it could be a high watt. Let me just check. Yeah, it's a high watt power. Gone through a different cab again, I think. Yeah, it's gone to a Basket Weave TV mix with my own high watt tone match been inputted into it just to try and make it sound a little bit more the way it was recorded.
I've seen guys use these just for like delays, But you are definitely using the setup to the full capacity, at least to my knowledge. I mean, it's blowing my mind.
Yeah, I think for us it's just so easy. If you're going to Greece or if you're going to China, you can just plug in and you know it's going to be the sound that you had in the studio. And with our front of house engineer Edgy, who's also really familiar with the sound, he's able to EQ the system to make sure that it's somewhat representative of what we had in the studio, which without Edgy, without your own sound engineer, it probably wouldn't be a good idea at all, because you'd be having arguments with the house engineer saying, you know, dial back the tone, treble. So, I mean, Edgy's he's a system tech as well, so he's got the lake processors and all that kind of stuff, so it really makes the whole thing possible. Let's put it that way.
Well, I got Jamie, who's sitting over here quietly waiting. Let me get out of the way and let you guys kind of jam on this, echoes part.
So,
you go ahead and just go for it.
kind of like the clean part of the verse, and we kind of do a few kind of harmony guitar lines like that in a couple of songs. Fragile, we do it as well, and Helios Erebus is another one that we do as well. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the extent of it. I mean, I can just show you one or two more sounds, and I'd say...
Yeah, show us maybe your most radical sound.
Goalkeeper thing, maybe.
Yeah, there's probably, I could show you the Goalkeeper one. I'll show you two of them, and then that will probably suffice. Let me see if I can just find... This is Dust to Beyond, which is kind of... setting. So that kind of has the different, it simulates feedback and it does kind of feedback with it. One of the most radical ones would be Red Moon Lagoon, so if I can see if I can get that one together. So this one works with basically the Joko, which is a playback device, sends out a metronome, and it kind of messes with the Goalkeeper's internal timing through the syncing in the back. I'll have to see if I can just hook it up. Maybe if you want to freeze it for a second, see if I can get it to do that first. So Joko, which is on an iPad here.
Damn.
Where it controls it, you know, you can.
Yeah.
So playback, select playlist, goat. So that'll send a tempo into this machine, and it can trip it up. It's obviously in time with the different parts of the song, so you'd have to wait a while for the different bits to happen, but we'll just see. And throughout the course of the tracks, it may change like to so it'll do all that kind of stuff, you know, from the metronome. So I had to kind of make because if you said it the way it was played, you know, this would have been on 4, that would have been on 2, that would have been on 6. It's random, so I had to get the metronome to go say so it will start to mess with the Goalkeeper, you know. So that's pretty much how that one works. There are all the different bits, and obviously Jamie's got a whole lot of different stuff that he can show you. His effects are totally different, I suppose. Again,
we'll get over to Jamie here in a second. Torsten,
cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it taking the time to talk to us and playing through everything. Jamie,
Cheers.
you're up next.
Cool, okay, great.
All right, Jamie already made a cameo earlier with the jam session with Torsten. Now you're actually going to talk to us about your equipment.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick run through. Basically, I'm
Let's hear
using a Yamaha. It's from 1985. We actually got it from Jimmy's Music Store, which is a great guitar shop in Dublin. We got it for a steal, and we got it for a lot cheaper than we should have pretty much paid for it, so we weren't really complaining. Basically, I'm more the rhythmic, like Torsten's the lead guitar player in the band. A lot of what I do is more sort of rhythmic.
Okay.
And I'll play, you know, just pretty much standard melody. You know, whenever he's playing a lead line, I'll just
fill it in.
Fill it in, but whatever Niels is playing, I'll play some sort of distortion on top of it. With sort of arpeggiated guitar lines, again, I'll do some harmony lines behind that. But mainly what I do is, I'm predominantly like a keyboard player, so what I like to do is kind of play the guitar almost like a piano, kind of like two hands kind of on the...
Did you start, I imagine you started on the piano first and then learned the guitar?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I think I started them around the same time,
Okay.
but I definitely focused slightly more on the keys. So it's been cool to kind of come in and approach the guitar from a more keyboard-based perspective.
A fresh approach.
You know? So what I do is a lot of kind of tapping stuff, especially on the, mainly on the new album. You know, towards me playing sort of heavy, sort of chunky rhythm line, I'll just do something like... that kind of stuff, you know.
And is there a reason why you don't use a hair tie or a band or anything that to mute the strings, so like when you finger tap?
No, I mean, it's cool sometimes when it breaks up and it gives it a bit more
Yeah.
heaviness. But no, I mean, I don't think there are any. Yeah, there's no real tracks where I use a capo other than Echoes. Actually, I use a capo
Okay.
on that one, but that's mainly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
It's like Guthrie Govan, he'll put that on there so it doesn't ring out, so like only the notes he hits is rather than ringing out.
I might try that actually, yeah, because it makes it life a lot easier, you know. But yeah, so with the exception of sort of some lead, guitar lines like that, I mainly stick to chords and kind of more basic stuff like that as far as my guitar is concerned.
Is there anything you did to this one once you bought it?
No, it actually. I had Tony Thompson, who's a guitar genius again in Ireland. I had him set it up, so I think I got a refret and stuff. I got some new machine heads and stuff put on it. What else did I do? I had a jazz master before. I got pretty much everything done to that. I got Curtis Novak pickups. He's this great guy. He designs pickups like specifically for Fender guitars and probably some other guitars as well. But he's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, this guitar, it shipped. We were so happy with pretty much how it came and how it sounded straight out of the box. We were really happy with it. So,
and is it featured on the new album? Have you recorded this one?
Well, it's not actually on Helios Erebus, which is the last one that we released, but we're working on one currently, which it will definitely feature on. And then Torsten, as he said, he spends like 9-10 hours a day in the studio working on guitar patches. So
he's got a PhD in Fractal.
He should definitely be working for them. My setup mirrors his as far as equipment is concerned. I mean, I'm using the XFX XL as well. This is the MFC. Ian Torsten was given a demo earlier on, like programming or going through the software on the laptop. We obviously live, you don't have to do that. You just pretty much
it's all
stamp on whatever
in.
patches you have here, which makes life a lot. Do you know what? I used to use as well as the two of us used to use pedal boards, and when you're trying to be real specific for cues and songs, it's difficult if you need to activate like 3 or 4 at the same time on time. So this is just brilliant because everything is just so much more condensed and more user-friendly that way,
I love that you guys are using like car mats too to set your, your things on there.
Well, do you know what? Because like there's especially for me, because I'm jumping from keys to guitar, there's so much going on all the time that sometimes I turn around and like before the car mat thing came in, my pedals would just be everywhere, and I was like, how am I going to get to all these? So yeah, it's definitely a practical thing that Torsten came up with.
Let's talk about your keyboard.
Yeah, we'll go through the.
Because that's a big part of your role too.
Yeah, I'll just throw this down over here for the moment.
Excuse me.
So I've changed back to the trusty laptops. Basically, I used to have a lot of outboard stuff that I'd wheel out on stage, but it just wasn't practical for touring. So we decided to go back to the sort of digital world of computers. The main thing that you need to sort of protect against is obviously crash. The nature of computers, they'll crash. So you have to kind of, what you're seeing here is an AB system. This is my primary system here. and this is the secondary one, and what you're looking at here is basically an A/B switcher, so if something happens,
Gotcha.
it's only happened once or twice thankfully on this tour, but when it does happen you just switch over and you're straight in, and they're both playing simultaneously, so you don't
Wow.
need to worry about it.
Man, you guys got a lot of toys. You imagine you just get locked in a room and just
We're
make noise.
addicted to buying stuff. It's a problem at this point. We're gonna have to calm down. But yeah, so that's pretty much my keyboard setup. I have samples and stuff as well, and that are really specific to each track we have. The interfaces I use, like the RME and the Profire, again the Axe FX, and we actually bought that rack because all our gear was brought over for a flying show, so
Yeah.
we needed to buy the rack to put it all in. But we, you know, we've been through so many different setups over the years that this is definitely a working one. So I'm happy to continue with it.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much,
Cool, man.
Jamie.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, thanks
Move
a
on
lot.
to Niels. All right. Last but not least, Niels, how are you doing?
Good, really good.
Thank you very much for doing this. Your brothers in the band here
Yeah,
have a
twin
lot of
brother.
equipment.
Yeah,
have a lot of equipment.
He's into the equipment. I'm not so much.
Not so
into-
much.
No, not really.
But talk to us about your bass to start us off.
Okay, so it's just a standard vintage Fender P Base. Has Curtis Novak pickups, which are the Charlie Christian P pickups. They're extra fat,
Oh, all right.
so they give a much chunkier sound
yeah.
than normal.
Real thick.
Good low end on it.
I can feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so that it's a pretty much a standard bass. Yeah, so just with the extra pickups for the extra low end. Tone wise, just kind of leave it just on half, you know, just a little bit of treble in it.
Warm sounding, yeah.
Yeah, so then you want that the pedal wise.
Yeah.
So the main sound is actually the Noble preamp, which is made by a guy in California. So it's a really standard thing. It's got two valves in it, a bass and a treble control, and it has a bass cut. So I always engage the bass cut and dial in the bass on this because it's a slightly cleaner sound. If you were to leave all the bass in, it gets too much bass. So
Yeah. It loses some definition a little
yeah, a
bit.
little clearer sound. Yeah, I really like this. I mean, I've used lots of different preamps, amplifiers as well. So I mean, I've used the Reddy, Avalon U5, but this I think is the best tone I've used for sure for a preamp. So yeah, it's great. But it's great because you're guaranteed to have your sound every night. If you're, especially if you're doing flying shows. I mean, we used to rent bass amps, and you'd ask for your Ampeg Classic, and then what turns up is I don't know, it's beyond description, and it just sounds terrible. So at least this way, you're guaranteed to have a good sound going to the front of the house.
You can put that in your laptop bag.
Yeah, that's what I do pretty much. Yeah. So then pedal-wise, I just have Microtubes Vintage, which is made by what's the company again? Yeah, Dark Glass. Yeah, from Finland. So yeah, I think it's a real simple. I also for this tour I've been using a slightly bit of drive in the signal all the time.
Okay.
But if I need more drive, I just crank it up. So, but yeah, the sound is mainly a clean sound. For some of the pads, say for the ambient parts where you need a bit of a sound, you know, you dial that in, which is a Reverb wet pedal.
How are you holding that note? How's that hanging there?
That hangs in
Yeah, the whole time?
the whole time, so if you want to cut it out, it cuts out, then you have to turn it down a bit. But yeah, it's mainly only used like in between the songs, so I let it just ring out for 2 minutes. So, yeah.
Go get a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
And before we wrap this up, what are you using for bass strings?
Bass strings, so we're endorsed by Ernie Ball. So yeah, they're the custom hybrid, I think. They're 105s, so 45, 65, 85, 105, and they're not flats, they're rounds.
Okay.
So I mean, I would change the bass strings nearly every show or every second show, depends on how much sweat gets into them.
And you're always using a pick?
No, so I'm using a pick on this tour because I'm doing some extra speedy stuff so that you can't really do with fingers. Well, you can if you're really good. Yeah, but no, yeah. So a pick for this tour. I've been using fingers as well. I use both. I mean, it's good to. Some bass players say you should only use fingers. I reckon that you should be able to play both.
Yeah. Be versatile.
Be versatile. You know, so.
And what pick are you using at the moment?
This is just a felt pickup. I think these are mixed picks.
Oh yeah.
So I don't really like the hard plastic ones.
Why is that?
It just makes the string rattle off the fretboard too much. So I really, really hate that sound. I know some bass players love the old clickety clack off the.
Yeah.
You know, that terrible clicky sound. I hate it. So I prefer a much cleaner bass sound.
Yeah, it's very soft.
More about notes rather than fret noise and stuff.
Yeah, clank.
So, yeah. Yeah, so that's it's a pretty easy, pretty basic setup. I'm always packed up at the end of the night quicker, so.
Yeah, you get to go to the bus a lot sooner.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
and it saves you a lot of your back too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, before we were dragging out Ampeg 8x10s and the classic head, which is 40 kilos.
I'm just sweating thinking about that.
No, I've pulled out my back many times on many tours and lifting that in. Or when you're trying to lift it up onto the actual stack, so you feel your back pulling it out. So this way, it's good. So I mean, monitoring wise, we use in-ears, just the monitors in front of us. There's only on very few occasions where you mightn't have enough bass on stage, but there's like big sub beside me. So that's between the in-ears, monitors, and the subs, I mean, I get a pretty good.
You feel it.
Yeah, pretty good monitoring sound of the bass. I can hear it,
Perfect.
Where with the problem with reason we don't use amplification. One, you have to turn up so loud because it's normally behind you. So, but the problem with bass frequencies, as you know, by the time, because the amp is usually set back a good few feet behind the actual sub, it's traveling at a delayed time. So by the time it gets out in the center, it's just a mess. Yeah. Especially if you have it turned up too loud. So with this way, the bass sound is much clearer. I mean, that's the first thing we noticed when we ran out a big venue. We tried it with the bass amp. We turned the bass amp off, and the sound was just way better. You could turn up a lot louder to the PA system, where if you had the bass amp on stage, you were trying to balance it between the both, and then with the delay time, by the time it got into the center, it was just an unholy mess.
You probably couldn't, you never get happy.
No, you're never happy. So at least this way, the sound out front is guaranteed to be a lot
consistent.
Better. Yeah, a
Niels,
lot clearer. Yeah.
Thanks
very much. Thank you.
From your guitar, this is Chris Kies for another rig rundown here in Nashville.
Don't forget to sign up for PG Perks, your all-access pass to exclusive gear giveaways and discounts on PremierGuitar.com.